Imagine a young girl with only a few coins in her hands, defying the impossible to save her own life. With simple candies, she raises an empire of hope, fighting against relentless cancer. But what happens when, at the peak of her battle, the world witnesses such an improbable gesture that even the most skeptical are left in awe? Clint Eastwood, a living legend, does something no one expected. Something that not only alters the course of this story, but redefines the meaning of generosity and compassion. What was it? And why does this seemingly small act resonate so deeply? Don't move on without discovering. What's to come will leave you speechless. In the small town of Sierra Vista, Arizona, where the sun shines bright and the afternoons drag slowly, a 10-year-old girl was about to embark on a journey that would change not only her life, but the lives of everyone around her. With eyes gleaming, with hope and a quiet determination that seemed capable of breaking through any wall, she stood in front of her house, in a simple gesture that hid an unsuspected depth. Emily, with her small hands full of dreams, set up a simple table, covered with colorful cloths and jars full of homemade sweets. Her smile was genuine, but there was an unspoken sadness, a secret she carried with a weight greater than any candy could compensate. The idea of selling sweets seemed innocent, something simple and almost childlike. But, as customers passed by her table, something far more important began to happen. The cupcakes, candies, and cakes weren't just sweet treats. They became symbols of a silent battle, of a desperate effort to save a life. Emily's father, a former soldier, was fighting a relentless battle against a rare cancer, and the medical bills were piling up quickly, like an unstoppable avalanche. The family's love was there, but the money was running out, and Emily knew she had to do something beyond what she could imagine. So, with courage, she began selling her sweets, with the simple hope of raising enough to help with her father's treatment. What seemed like a small gesture soon transformed into something much bigger, something no one could have predicted. Each piece of cake sold wasn't just a transaction, but an act of faith, an act of resistance. The town of Sierra Vista, once quiet and calm, began to warm up with the heat of a story that touched hearts. Word of mouth spread quickly, and soon tourists, who had once passed by the street without a second glance, started to stop, drawn by Emily's energy. It wasn't just the sweets that caught their attention, but something in her determination, something in her gaze, something that told them that this girl, in some way, was about to do something big. And indeed, she was. Social media quickly began to stir, and Emily's story was shared across the world. People, moved by her story and the nobility of her mission, started sending messages of support, words of encouragement, and, above all, promises of prayers. The number of buyers grew each day, and with it, the funds raised for her father's treatment increased. But fate, with its mysterious whims, had something even more surprising in store for her. It was a hot, stuffy Saturday afternoon when Emily was once again at her table, smiling and offering her sweets with the same sparkle in her eyes. She barely noticed, but something was about to happen. A figure, imposing and serene, was approaching the table. His steps were calm, and no one seemed to notice the grandeur of what was about to take place. Clint Eastwood, the legendary actor and director, who happened to be in Sierra Vista for a charity event, had decided to make an unplanned stop on that little street. He looked at the booth, at the colorful sweets, and at the girl with the bright eyes, unaware that this simple act of compassion would forever change Emily's life. Eastwood stopped in front of the table, watching the little girl closely. She, with her sweet voice and full of innocence, didn't hesitate to offer him a treat. "Hello, sir. Would you like to buy a sweet? They're to help my dad pay for his cancer treatment," she said, with a sincerity that touched deeply. The actor looked at her, his penetrating gaze taking in the scene around him. He saw more than just a girl selling sweets. He saw courage. He saw determination. He saw the human spirit in its purest form. For a moment, everything went silent. Emily waited for a response, and the tension was palpable. Everyone around her watched, unsure of what would happen next. Then, something incredible happened. Eastwood, without saying a word, extended his hand and placed a $100 bill on the table, handing it directly to Emily. "I'll take all the sweets you have. And more. I'll double what you raised today," he said, with the calmness of someone who has seen it all. Emily, stunned, looked at him, unable to believe what was happening. She stood still for a moment, speechless, as the world around her seemed to stop too. But Eastwood's gesture didn't end there. As he was about to leave, he turned back to Emily. She, still not fully understanding what was happening, looked at him with a mixture of gratitude and astonishment. Then, with the same calmness as always, Eastwood asked a question no one expected. "Emily," he said, his voice gentle, "what do you want to be when you grow up?" The girl, still wide-eyed, responded with a shy gleam in her eyes, an answer that came from a deep place in her heart. I want to help other people, just like I'm helping my dad. I want to be someone who makes a difference." Eastwood smiled, a smile that was both approving and admiring. He placed his hand on her shoulder, as if sharing an important secret, and said, "Then keep doing that. The world needs more people like you." With those words, he walked away, leaving Emily in a state of total reverence, as the town seemed to warm up even more, now with a renewed energy. But the full impact of it all wasn't clear yet. Not in that moment. Eastwood's words echoed inside her, growing, like a seed beginning to sprout. The actor's gesture was not just financial help, but a message that would propel Emily forward, stronger, more determined, and with an even bigger heart. And what no one knew, what even Emily couldn't have imagined, was that her future was now being written in an unexpected direction, something that would surpass any dream she could have had up until that moment. As Clint Eastwood walked toward his car, his serene yet distant expression seemed to reflect the magnitude of what had just happened. The late afternoon sun illuminated his figure, creating an aura of contemplation around him. However, amid the stillness of the scene, a reporter who had been quietly following the events quickly approached, his notepad in hand, determined to understand the depth of something so simple, yet seemingly carrying an immense weight. He was aware that, in that moment, he had witnessed something beyond just an interaction between a Hollywood icon and a young girl. It was as if a spark had been lit, something that promised to ignite hearts and transform lives. Eastwood's gesture, though simple in its execution, was a flame that would expand in the coming days, creating a chain reaction that no one could have predicted. The next morning, when local newspapers and social media began echoing the story of Emily and Clint, the town of Sierra Vista was taken by a buzz of disbelief. The account of the 10-year-old girl selling sweets to save her father's life touched everyone's heart. But what no one knew was that the true extent of this encounter was about to be revealed. The story began to spread everywhere, gaining momentum that seemed inexplicable to many. But the greatest surprise came when an unexpected revelation took over the news. Clint Eastwood, moved by a genuine impulse of compassion, made a significant donation toward Emily's father's medical treatment, covering all the medical expenses that were overwhelming the family. The amount of the donation was enough to provide an immediate sense of relief, a deep, necessary breath. But, contrary to what many might have imagined, this was not the end of the actor's involvement in the story. In the following days, Emily's story continued to unfold in ways no one had expected. That weekend, Eastwood, in a gesture that could only be described as extraordinary, organized a fundraising event to continue Emily's mission. He didn't just commit to supporting the girl. He invited celebrities and close friends to participate, with the promise of doubling every amount raised. That afternoon, once quiet and calm, transformed into a true event of solidarity, where donations began to flow in a way no one could have anticipated. Celebrities, who once lived their lives in their own worlds, began to engage in a genuine way, moved by Emily's cause. Each contribution seemed not just a donation, but a collective affirmation that humanity could still unite for something greater than itself. When the final numbers were revealed, the total amount raised exceeded even the most optimistic expectations. Emily's father's treatment was guaranteed. But what was clear to everyone was that this was a much broader victory than just paying medical bills. The event not only transformed Emily and her family's life, but also sparked a wave of solidarity that resonated far beyond the small town of Sierra Vista. Clint Eastwood's gesture, unpretentious and deeply selfless, touched the hearts of everyone involved, from the local citizens to the celebrities who answered the call. This act of kindness became a movement, a demonstration that human compassion, when genuine and without ulterior motives, can change the course of a life, and even an entire community. But the deepest impact of this story wasn't just in the amount raised or the fame Emily and her cause gained. The true transformation was the internal change this experience brought to all those involved. Emily, who started her journey with a simple intention to help her father, ended up not only achieving her goal, but becoming a symbol of hope, determination, and humanity. As she said with a radiant smile that day at the candy stand, "I want to be someone who makes a difference." And, unknowingly, she had already become exactly that, a person who, with her strength, courage, and kindness, touched the hearts of many and inspired a movement of compassion that spread across the globe. In the end, it wasn't Emily's father's physical recovery that stood as the greatest victory. It was the social and emotional transformation the story triggered. Clint Eastwood's donation, his active participation in the cause, and the collective support that emerged from a simple act of kindness showed the world that even in times of adversity, there is still room for genuine solidarity and generosity without expectations. This is the true power of an act of compassion. It not only solves an immediate problem, but creates a support network and a shared vision of a fairer and more united world. Thus, the story of Emily and Clint Eastwood became more than just a simple anecdote about financial help. It turned into a powerful lesson on the importance of acting from the heart, of not sparing any effort to help others, and how each one of us, regardless of our age or position, has the power to bring about real and profound changes in the world around us. Emily, with her noble mission and pure heart, had already made a difference. But with Clint Eastwood's help and the support of so many others, she reminded us that a single act of kindness can, indeed, change the world.